back to the world of Glyos once again to see all the new stuff that has been coming out recently that most people here don't pay attention to, but some of you live vicariously through my Glyos collecting, and I am willing to oblige you. Now we're going to start off, as we usually do when I have one, is with the new custom I've been working on, and this one is one of the ones I'm super proud of. It is Tom from Toonami, bringing you a better Glyos custom. This was fun to work on. There's actually 5 different Glyos figures being used in order to create this particular figure. There's parts of Sarvos, Neo-Sarvos, a Glyon, a Buildman, even an Outlander. That's one I have not even thought of in a long time, but it worked for the legs, so they get used. This came out super nice. It leans closer to Tom 2.0. That was my personal favorite. Really happy with how he comes out and looks. Also really happy with the response, because not only did Steve Bloom, the voice of Tom, retweet it, the guy who created Tom retweeted it. That's pretty freaking cool. So that one I'm super happy with. Really like that one. So, with that out of the way, we're going to get into the actual production Glyos that you could actually have bought here in the last few months. So, if you were not paying attention to the world of Glyos in the months of December and January of 2016 and 17 respectively, this is what you missed. Starting in with a few things that I did not get to buy, but Glyos producers were busy during those months. So shout outs to Galaxor for releasing a new vinyl figure in a very nice pearlescent white and orange, kind of creamsicle looking thing. Shout out to the God Beast, who produced the Kabuto Mushi and Biomass monsters in matching plastic colors, which I desperately wanted, except I didn't like the colors he used, so that's just how it goes sometimes, unfortunately. And RoboForce, which produced both, or Toyfinity produced the RoboForce and the Zeroid mold in completely translucent plastic. So for all you customizers out there, you can make your own big blocky robots however you want now. So, good job to you guys. Glad those drops went well. So for now, the ones I was able to partake in. So we're going to start with the one I'm most excited for, but we're not going to have a heavy look into him. Behold the finished version of the Biomass monster. This thing looking absolutely devilish, and I love it. This is actually the standard color scheme he picked. The colors are bold, they are crazy, and that black body just makes all of it pop that much more. This is an extremely versatile mold to work with in Glyos, and we're going to take a very deep look into it at a random review sometime in the very near future. But for now, we're just going to mind it and keep it over there, just so you know. They are lurking now. They are in the wild, and they are absolutely awesome. So, moving over to Spy Monkey Creations, the guys who produced the Weaponeers of Mon-Ka and now produce Battle Tribes. If you remember, the Weaponeers had a few homages to some classic 80s toys, most of which was He-Man, because those guys are huge He-Man fans, as is obvious by the design of their new release. Now, for starters, the Battle Tribe mold is made specifically to have that old school, super muscled action figure look from the 80s. But you throw those color schemes onto it, and yeah, you can just see the mold was always meant to be He-Man at some point. So, this is the point. They did not take very long to get it out. And it does look pretty good all on its own. It makes a nice, tiny little desk-sized He-Man, if that is what you're after. Now, the fun part about this is they couldn't release just him. They needed somebody else, but lacking a skull head amongst these, they had to go a little bit more creative. So, behold, their Battle Cat homage. This is probably one of the more ridiculous homages, but it actually works and somehow doesn't look too Christmassy while he's at it. So yeah, you have the Cringer green with the orange striping, as well as the battle armor done up in a very solid blood red color. The weapons are based on the old He-Man accessory packs that came in bright blue. So you've got double the homage going on here, and this is a really deep cut to pay tribute to. Very fun. As usual, the Battle Tribes figures come with a whole bunch of stuff, tons of weapons, a bunch of extra heads. They are very good for amassing warriors that all have, you can change them up to look a lot of different ways. So these continue to be really fun little action figures. Not as compatible as standard Glyos is, but they are really fun to goof with when you start getting a bunch of them. So beyond that, Bitfigs did a new release, which means more 8-bit fade-in goodness. In this case, going in the classic Gatekeeper colors, which is getting kind of washed out on my lights. I have to figure out where to reposition my lights sometimes. There we go. That looks better. He kind of throws it back to classic Gatekeeper in the purple and pink shades. This is the color scheme that was just so alien that I had to have the figures. This is what started my Glyos addiction. Now, the last time we saw Gatekeeper, it was more of a two-tone purple, like a purple and a lilac kind of color. I'm very happy to see the return of the classic pink. This, I think, provides a much better contrast and a much more creepy alien look. Very, very cool. So that made me happy. The return of the classic Gatekeeper colors. And hey, more 8-bit fade-in. Very, very cool. Now, we got 2 different ONell drops to talk about, and quite a bit to talk about in all of them. For starters, the December release had a little bit of homage, had a lot of homage to it. Most of the figures were in heavy tribute to one thing or another from the 80s and 90s, but one that was not was the Master Chief. This is a little bit ridiculous, but hey, it works. It's actually using the reverse side of the new ninja head for the Glyon, which does actually work for the Halo armor. It actually does kind of make a passable Master Chief, I would think. A decent little homage there. I'm not the biggest Halo fan, but I kind of want to have like a whole horde of these to do up in red versus blue colors if I can. But to go with him, along with the Glyon homages, we have another ninja. This one being Ryu from Ninja Gaiden, which this is the one ninja I grew up. So like this doesn't cut as deep into obscurity as some of the previous ninja homage video game things did. This one's right up my alley. This was a really cool one. Very happy to have a little tiny Robo Hayabusa thing in the collection. Also, we had the return of the Quilarians, which is the new head sculpt for the old school Noboto figures. And this time, it's a little bit familiar. We have a Gremlin and a Mogwai. This is Matt being really, really silly, and this is about as close as he'll ever get to an actual Christmas-themed release. This is just fun and silly, and definitely works better for the Gremlin side of things, but it's a passable Mogwai in this super weird, deformed, I fell into Shredder's mutagen vat kind of way. I kind of dig it. It's Glyos having fun, which is the whole point of a toy, so that works for me. Also, to go with the He-Man over here, they might not have a Skullhead release, but ONell Design does. Here's a Skeletor. I think Skeletor might be the most homage thing in all of Glyos. I think I have at least 3 figures in Glyos that have Skeletor designs like this, and there's probably more of them out there that I'm not thinking of right now. Either way, this was kind of hysterical. So yeah, we have He-Man and Skeletor done up in Glyos for at least the second time, and probably not the last, because it seems that a lot of Glyos producers were really big into the He-Man toy lines. Jeez, I am running out of desk space fast. I did not pull my camera far enough back. Luckily, the next one is going to definitely be a back row, because aside from all of these various homages, one of the running themes of the December release was gloss black and gunmetal. Look at this. This is the return of the Super Krayboth vinyl figure. We have not seen this guy in a long time. And if you're wondering why he's so shiny, that is because every inch of him, every little stitch of vinyl on this guy has been completely painted over. All of that you see is paint. First time they had ever done this, and the effect is amazing. He comes off looking very wet and slimy, kind of. It's super gloss, especially in the light here. And there's a particular reason for that. This color scheme is based on the alien xenomorph. And there were a bunch of figures released in such colors, and they all looked really, really cool. But this is the one that captured the look the best, thanks to its heavy paint job. Very, very cool. Kind of hope to see more of this. It actually didn't cost too much more to paint the whole thing, so I'm actually kind of looking forward to seeing if that ever becomes a thing again. And then there is the January release, where again we had quite the variety of things happening, but it all kind of centered around the return of one of Glyos' most sought-after characters, Tracker. Tracker Sarvos was originally a custom core figure, figures that Matt Dowdy, the creator of Glyos himself, painted up and customized by hand, in some cases even having completely original parts. This one, however, was a clever configuration of Sarvos components and a few other bits and bobs. Now, he liked that one so much, he ended up producing a version of the character in full production, and it is one of the most sought-after Glyos toys. And now we have a new, super upgraded one in the new Glyarmor configuration. Very, very cool. This kind of goes back a little bit to his roots as a custom core figure with a completely painted head. A lot more paint apps going on in this one, and a little bit more chaotic of a color scheme. I kind of like the more simplified look of the original Tracker, but this is a very cool thing to see redone. Very, very nice, very unique stature for a Glyos figure too. Really like it. And of course, me, Mega Man fan, I'm always going to dig something that's supposed to have an arm cannon attached at all times. So that was a really cool thing to see make a return. Very happy about that. It was also the return of the Neo Phase color scheme, which is translucent green, but this time there's a cosmic twist to it with a bunch of glitter in the plastic. I'm typically not a fan of translucent plastic in Glyos. It tends to wash out details, I find, but for the most part, this works for me. The two-tone green paint kind of keeps enough detail in there to keep me interested, and the glitter is definitely an interesting effect, giving this really strange look of depth to all of his parts. It's like you can see how thick he is in all of his spots. So that's really, really cool. Really dig that. There were a bunch of them in this color scheme, but I chose not to partake in too many because it's like I said, it's a color scheme that tends to wear thin on me after a little bit. Speaking of, there's another one that is going on that kind of runs in the same vein, is the desert color schemes, which made a return. For starters, we have a brand new Faden. I'm happy to see more standard Fadens being released because it's a little bit easier on the wall and easier to talk someone into buying as their first Glyos figure. Now, the whole thing is molded in that brown plastic, so everything you see other than that is paint. So he is absolutely chock full of paint applications, including a very new chest piece. Kind of reminds me a little bit Mortal Kombat-y, a little bit Mortal Kombat 3 and some of the break lines and all that. It looks good, and the silver head makes the whole thing kind of pop in an interesting way. I like it. I actually like this a lot. This might be one of the brown figures I end up keeping a hold of. This also saw the return of the Deep Space Glyon. It was always one of my favorites. I like the dome head, I like the big weapon, and I like the jetpack on the back. If you don't know what a Deep Space Glyon is, it's one of these guys. It's a standard Glyon figure that's combined with a hub set, a set of upgrade parts typically for robots, but here every single component is used to make this jetpack wearing spaceman, and I really, really like how it's looked. It's a very classic space guy, space soldier look, and I hope to see more of these in the future, maybe in a little bit less deserty color schemes, because hey, he's flying in space. So yeah, that's a little bit weird. There is another figure that came out in the same desert color scheme, which I'm going to go ahead and make space over here. Now this one we have to talk about a little bit because this is something I don't like to do in Glyos, but a reviewer has to be honest or else their reviews mean nothing. So let's take a look at the brand new release that ONell Design did. It's kind of become a tradition in Glyos that when a Glyos producer has a brand new mold to show off, ONell Design does the first release of it to kind of give the largest Glyos audience a taste of what's to come and a taste of the brand new stuff they could be buying from another Glyos producer. This is from Knights of the Slice, which is a very it's a Sentai Power Ranger styled Glyos action figure line that's has a pizza motif to it. I know it's an independent toy. You get these kind of things, but you can definitely tell the Power Ranger side of it if you look at the standard figure. This is the new Vector Jump armor, which takes the standard figure and super upgrades it into something, a little mashup of a little bit Halo, a little bit Fallout. It's very heavy and asymmetrical armor pack, which by design does not look bad. I mean, he does have a lot going on, a lot of little packs in there, a lot of little random lights. Like, there's some chaos going on to some of his armor designs, frankly. And then you've got this big thing that looks like it should have a proton pack on it somewhere, but it doesn't seem to have one. But it's just a big backpack of random tech kibble stuff. The color scheme definitely helps. I do like the desert colors on this guy. Now, the figure itself is what I call Glyos compatible, not Glyos buildable. See, like guys like this that come apart in a whole bunch of different ways and have a lot of universal components that can be used to build onto other things, that's Glyos buildable. Glyos compatible for me just means that their arms and legs can come off with Glyos pegs, but for the most part, they're just used as a replacement for standard engineering for figures. So they can be used with Glyos toys. You can build with them a little bit, but like that's thigh is like one solid piece. So there's not a whole lot you're going to do with it except to be a thigh for other Glyos figures this tall. It's pretty much just an easy way of assembling a figure without having to engineer universal joints or ball joints or whatever. So that's Glyos compatible for me, and it's not as far up my alley. Now, design-wise, a lot is going right here. You can see little things hidden. It's Knights of the Slice, so you can see little tiny pizza details that are hidden in various parts of his armor. There's one on the back of his helmet, so it's a little bit of a Where's Waldo game on him. What I don't like about him is the fact that there's some design elements that don't work. Like, for instance, the shoulder armor is really held on with just the loosest bit of friction and the fact that it is molded to be very form-fit to him. So it's just a very loose amount of friction. And they tend to fall off pretty easily, especially when you're trying to find a pose for him to be in. Also, this thing runs $20. A standard Knight of the Slice is going to run you $15 at retail, but if you're willing to buy more than one, you can usually find them for about $10 shipped on eBay. That means this is a pretty penny for the extra armor. A standard figure is also going to come with a fedora and a pizza slicer weapon to give you some variety. This does not have that. It does not have any kind of weaponry, and the fact it only has one open hand, which is really, really tiny, so I don't think you're going to get much in the way of accessory going on with him unless they specifically start making them. Also, the armor itself is difficult to swap to other figures because the armor chest part itself is glued right there at the thinnest point over the top of the shoulder. So even if you remove everything necessary in order to pull the armor off, it's very form-fit and it's going to try to flex at the most breakable point, and some people have easily broken theirs as a result. And then there is the fact that in spite of the $20 price point, he does not come with the standard parts from a standard Knight of the Slice figure. The head, the arms, and the lower legs are completely new components that replace the originals. You do not get the originals to swap back in. So it's not like, it's not like a Gly Armor figure or anything that comes with every single part and you can break it down into a normal toy. This is all you get. So for $20, I don't find the play value here compared to the $15 that gets me a little bit more and maybe a little bit more of a acceptable design scheme. There's definitely a market for something that looks like this, but I'm not sure it's Glyos. I know people who love the armor. For me, I don't, and I just find a few too many design deficiencies. Now, I hate bashing on it because it's someone's piece of art that they've worked hard to produce and actually get to a production level. But at the same time, I have to be honest with you guys, and I have to be honest with my opinions. And, well, that one does not work for me. wheeling back here just so I can get the whole shot in, because we got one more to go, because this is the weirdest one of ONell's release. Behold, Phaeton. What was it? God, it's Phaetron. This was the Phaetron release. This was a mystery release in the last drop, and you can see a lot of different detail to it. For instance, it looks like it has a visor that folds down. It does not. It has a weird tampograph on the chest, and it's got a lot of interesting paint apps. This is actually based on the Fisher-Price Adventure People Clawtron action figure. That's a deep cut of obscurity to get some random robot toy to repaint your own toy line in. I think Glyos producers have some of the deepest toy knowledge of anyone I've ever known. It's absolutely insane, and this cut's super deep. Why save him for last? Because as of this recording, next Monday there is a brand new drop of Glyos, and for some reason, that tampograph on the chest is being used as a teaser for what's to come on Monday. So, this is one of the rare times when I can actually promote a release, even though I have no idea what's actually in the release. So, like most Glyos things, you just have to check the website. I will link all of the websites that I have mentioned below in case you want to go and see what they're up to now, if anything is left over. Usually it's not. You have to be there when it comes out. So this is why you need to pay attention to the world of Glyos. But for the most part, yeah, this is one of the few times I can give you a heads up. Hey, there's going to be a release soon. So that is the world of Glyos for December and January. February brought some interesting things as well. Some more homages, some more rather interesting toys. And if I know Glyos, there's going to be something that will catch me off guard here coming up in March. So I will speak to you guys again probably in May for the next one of these, because I still love collecting them. I still love building with them. And hey, every now and then something might come up that just hits that little spark that drops you down the rabbit hole like it did me.